A key campaign promise from Indonesia's President Prabowo Subianto was to combat malnutrition by rolling out a free meal program to kids at school. But in recent months, thousands of children have reported feeling ill after eating free meals at school, raising concerns about the standards of this ambitious program. For more, Diah Satyani Saminarsih, founder and CEO of the Centre for Indonesia's Strategic Development Initiative, joins us from Dayton, Ohio. Now, firstly, Diah, the program sounds positive. I mean, from the outside looking in, $30 billion going into solving malnutrition in over 80 million children across Indonesia. Was it doomed from the start?
Well, thank you, Johnson, for inviting me into this program. First of all, to your comment about that the program being successful and good, I would concur. I would agree to that school meals program intended to give nutritious meals to all school children in Indonesia is great. It's what we and most of the school children in Indonesia actually needs. However, the planning and the execution of it remains a question. Since the very beginning, the allocated budget was high already, and there was no regulatory governance. There was no, then the subsequent budgetary component in it was also not present. We, at the planning phase, there wasn't any academic papers that has to be actually mandatory to be issued prior to such a big national program. So the intention itself is unquestionably good. However, the execution and delivery of it remains questionable, especially, like you said, it's a 30 billion Australian dollar allocated budget for the coming year. It started with 71 Indonesian rupiah trillion. I don't know the equivalent of it to Australian dollar, but it started out as one of the top budgeted national program. And then it increased rapidly in budget and beneficiary targets in short periods of few months without having a proper regulatory umbrella to as the foundation of policy and regulation.
I'm going to get to the policy and laws very, very soon. But first off, unfortunately, we know children have been getting sick from these meals. So what's your understanding about why this has happened?
Yeah, judging from the so many cases, I think at last count it reached close to 8,000. It might be more. We see it as the lack of the cause due to the underlying reason of cross-contamination that made bacterial infection. We also observe and analyze that it could have been from premature cook, that meals were not cooked properly, were not packaged and delivered in time for the children to consume it fresh. So since in each location the target is so high, thousands, then when it is contaminated, when one batch is contaminated from the process, from the preparation process to its delivery and distribution process, then at one time it can be over 1,000 cases of food poisoning. And it accumulates into what the number is right now, close to 8,000.
Now, going back to that point we discussed earlier, we understand a problem has been no clear regulations or laws around the program, but the government says that will be addressed this week. What are you hoping to see implemented here?
Of course, I'm hoping to see proper scientific evidence to be put into the presidential decree. Second of all, regulation in governance, how it is going to be governed at the national level and subnational level down to communities. Prioritization of locations from the areas that needed priorities, perhaps the farthest and hard to reach areas of Indonesia first, and then moving into the more urban areas. Monitoring and evaluation and hygiene standard has to be in place. Public engagement, meaningful engagement with all development stakeholders, civil society, yes, but also scientific researchers to provide the rigor of scientific execution in this application, and also, experts for supply chain if needed, how to ensure that the meals are cooked properly and delivered in time, and compliance on standards of good hygiene practice.
Yeah.
That is, I think, among the top priorities that we hope to see included in the presidential decree, but also the process is more important. We would like to see that there is an open process towards the signing of the presidential decree, that actually there is open discussion and meaningful dialogue between all development stakeholders prior to this actual signing of the presidential decree.
Essentially, you're saying things that should have been done really right from the start. But lastly, Diah, countries like Japan and India run similar free lunches and school programs. And are there any successful models already in action that the Indonesian government that you think they can learn from moving forward?
Yes, we learned that Japan started its school meals program since the Meiji Emperor period. And it took them some years to develop and grow it into the robust school meals program it currently has. Similarly, in India, it started, I think, in the mid-50s or early 60s. And it is what it is today, with several or perhaps many iterations towards the delivery mechanism, towards the preparation mechanism, whether it's a kitchen outside of the school or a kitchen in the school itself, to ensure that it's fresh food that's being delivered. And of course, budgetary mechanism as well, whether students and school districts actually have to pay, or is it a government 100% government owned. So I think we still have a lot to learn from those two countries alone.
Diah, thank you very much for joining us this evening.
Thank you, Johnson.